And welcome to episode 31 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Anani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing today, Todd?
I'm good.
It's an exciting day in mobile.
It is. We just had Jacob, one of our writers, at the BlackBerry event in New York City. The event was focused on the BlackBerry Classic. That's officially available today in the United States. $449 unlocked. You can find it on Amazon and BlackBerry's site. But I found it interesting, I think, because the whole time, and we don't have to talk about this too much because we have other topics to talk about, but I think the whole time, BlackBerry's comparing it to the 9900, the Bold that launched in 2011, and sort of like how this is better than that. And it's like of course it's better. It's whatever, more than 3 years from then. And the other thing is, like, the BlackBerry Passport just launched. I actually really like that phone, for a couple of reasons. If you're a BlackBerry user, form factor is a little different, but the BlackBerry Passport has better specs, sort of like across the board, than the BlackBerry Classic. And I don't know, it's just weird. I know what BlackBerry's trying to do. They're trying to cater to their fans that have been around for a long time, that really like the Bold and want something more of that form factor, but I don't know. I think they should go like direct to enterprise if that's where they want to go, or like I don't know. I don't see it working out as like this huge new flagship for them.
Well, I think this just proves that BlackBerry's going to party like it's 2011.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, yeah, I can understand there's still some fans out there of the form factor, and that's fine, but I don't know. When you're comparing your newest phone to a phone from 3 years ago, it just seems, especially for a company that's in their financial state.
Yeah, it was just weird because they're like, the screen is 60% larger, and it's like, I don't know, 3.47, 3.5 inches big. It's like, what?
I don't get it. I mean, well, we're excited to try it out and give it a go, but
yeah, we'll have it. So we'll have plenty of coverage of it and stuff like that. We have pictures, hands-on pictures coming.
Just at first blush, it's kind of like, what?
Yeah. AT&T and Verizon will have it too. So we'll see what the on-contract price is. Maybe they'll have some kind of, subsidy that brings it down. And I know John Chen, the CEO, was saying, we're back in the carriers' focus. They thanked AT&T for their partnership. AT&T is also carrying the Passport, so stuff like that, which is good news for BlackBerry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got a question that leads into one of the topics that we had announced we were going to discuss today from Christopher Miles. Thoughts on T-Mobile's new data stash promotion? Yes, it's a data stash.
I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Yeah, go for it, Todd.
Okay, so to start, we can go with the name. I read an interesting article on CNET yesterday by Roger Chang that said they went with Stash, I guess, because AT&T and by way of Singular still owned rollover. And if you're watching from when they had like rollover minutes with Singular, it made it really popular back in the day. And if you were watching the live webcast with David Pogue yesterday and John Ledger on the announcement, Ledger kept correcting him, saying, "No, it's called Data Stash. No, it's called Data Stash." And then on the conference call, he said, "Well, we're calling it Stash because it sounds cool." And he's like, "Doesn't that sound so much cooler? Like, stash it. It's not rollover. Rollover's so 90s." And I guess the thing is, like, AT&T owns the rights to rollover, so like that's why he kept correcting him, which I thought was funny. But otherwise, I mean, I thought it was really cool. At first, I was confused. The wording that T-Mobile used in its releases to the press said, like, if you buy extra data, that data rolls over. And so I know T-Mobile has like 1 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte, 5 gigabyte, and then unlimited plans. And so to me, I thought that meant if you had a 3 gigabyte plan and you ran out of data and you bought more high-speed data, because it's all technically unlimited, just throttles down after and you drop off LTE if you consume all of that. And I thought it meant that you had to buy more, and then that data rolled over. It's anybody who has a 3 gig plan or more, so 3 or 5 gig plan with a phone, and 1 gig plan or more on a tablet, because 200 megabytes rather is free with tablets. So if you're on T-Mobile and you have 3 gigs of data now, and you use I don't know, just 1 gig, then the rest of it rolls over into next month. And T-Mobile's also tossing in 10 gigs of free data into everybody's stash. So everybody starts with that 10 gigs that you can use, and then once that's used, and you have to use it within a year, then your data starts rolling over into its own data stash. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's a great way to attract customers.
It's cool, but there were so many little rules when you got down into it.
Oh yeah, when you look at it, it's like it doesn't apply. That 200 megabytes never carries over, so they're free, which is fine. I mean, it's 200 megabytes, but it's also like doesn't apply to any of their promotions. So I think their current one is like 4 lines in a family for $100. Like doesn't apply there, and a couple others. So it's just like there's a lot of fine print as usual with T-Mobile, I think. But I think for most people, it's another un-carrier step that's really compelling. For me, I actually, as much as T-Mobile likes to bash it, I really like the data bucket. Like I have 40 gigs. I don't use it all, but I like not having to worry about using it all, and that's why I pay for it. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine if I don't use it all and it doesn't roll over, whatever. So I know they like to bash that and say like, but you're paying for it. Well, at the end of the day, I pay, I think, about $200 on AT&T for 4 lines with 40 gigs of data. That's like $50 a line, and that's not bad to me. I mean, I think that's a great deal. And versus I guess going with T-Mobile, maybe I'd save money, but then I'm down to like 3 gigs a line, 5 gigs a line. I don't know. So
yeah, I did find it interesting that when we were on the press call, that it was a lot more about why does your service still suck indoors than actually the press asking questions about the data stash.
Right.
And is it Leisure or I always say Laguerre.
Leisure?
Leisure?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Leisure kept going, well, we're working on that, and that's old thinking. But, the truth of the matter is, yes, they still do have problems indoors. And while I've enjoyed all the Un-carrier announcements, I do wonder if they wouldn't be better served to just, like, say, take 6 months and do nothing more than work on their network. Make sure that they're getting rid of all those old thoughts about their network.
Well, that's what they are doing. They are doing it with one of the announcements yesterday was they're talking about Cat 12. Band 12 LTE and the 700 megahertz spectrum that they bought. Mm-hmm. Because it's lower spectrum, it penetrates buildings a lot easier. So they are doing that in some areas, and they're trying to build up a lot of their older, where you see the edge networks, just to HSPA plus, and spreading out. But I mean, even on the press call yesterday, it was very much like a lot of people complaining. Like if you're outside of an urban area, it drops off like a cliff, and like you're seeing GPRS on your T-Mobile phone, and that's crazy. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have wideband LTE rolling out. Just hit New York City, and apparently, that's promising speeds up to 100 megabits per second, which is really fast. That's on the par with what AT&T is doing with their LTE advanced network, and what Verizon's doing the same thing, and they brand it XLTE in some markets. So T-Mobile's not, it's just those like areas where there's not coverage they need to pick up. But otherwise, I think they're doing a pretty good job expanding their network.
Right, and and I did hear that yesterday on the call. If you're outside of an urban area, you have no luck. Well, I live in a rural community, and we actually do have fairly good T-Mobile service here. Mm-hmm. We have LTE here. Anytime I'm in now, admittedly, where I live out in the woods. I actually live a bit down in a valley. No carrier gets me here. We've tried multiple carriers.
Nothing.
I'm not blaming T-Mobile for my lack of service at my house. Mm-hmm. Unless somebody wants to come and build a tower like right in the center of my property, which is not going to happen. I was talking with I won't reveal who, but somebody from a carrier that's in that line where they're they go around, put up the towers. Mm-hmm. And they said it was funny how every time that they get all these phone calls every month from people. Well, I've got a piece of property that you can put a tower on. It's the highest point in the county. And they said it's amazing how many people feel they have the highest point in the county.
Everybody
that calls them has the highest point in the county. Yeah, so it's not that simple, unfortunately. But
yeah. And to be fair, T-Mobile admitted that they have issues with indoors, and that's why they were doing the personal hotspot stuff, which is pretty much free now, right? I think, or $25 deposit.
Yeah.
What is it called? I forget. It's for personal cell spot.
Yeah, personal cell spot.
So,
yeah.
At least they're admitting it, not just being like, the network,
Yeah, exactly.
We're not doing anything, because they are doing so.
But no, I applaud T-Mobile. They are trying to shake up the industry, and the industry definitely needed it. For how long did we? I think pretty much everybody now offers unlimited texting, and for how long were $20 a month for texting?
Yeah, for a long time.
And when the analysis came out that it cost them like 0.001 cents per text.
Yeah, because they're sent over like the packets that they need to be sending anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a portion of the bandwidth that has to be there anyway, and it takes up like no space.
Yeah.
And I'm a much bigger texter than I am a caller anymore, so
yeah,
I always go for unlimited text.
You're right, because T-Mobile in a lot of ways did shake up things. I mean, you've seen Verizon and AT&T react. I know AT&T probably like 2 months ago said, any customers on our plans can double their data. Just call us. So I'm on a 20 gig plan. I called them and said, put me on your 40 gig plan, no charge. I mean, that's great, and that seems like. To me, it seemed like they're just trying to keep their customers, make sure people aren't leaving. And apparently, this quarter we'll see some churn from Verizon and AT&T, and that customers are indeed leaving. But I'm happy where I am. I think it really depends on where you live too for a lot of people.
Exactly. It really does come down to who gives you the best service where you spend the majority of your time.
Right. So.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I think one of the brightest things that T-Mobile did was the test drive.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought a little bit about switching to Verizon, but I have no way to bring a Verizon phone out to my property and test it.
Yeah, exactly. I need to test drive, but I'm not sure. Speaking of indoor problems, I'm 29 stories up, and I remember when I worked in an office in New York. It's real hard for anybody to get cell connection here. My wife's on Verizon, I'm on AT&T, and just not good service.
Yeah, exactly.
This high.
Exactly. Well, in other topics that we wanted to discuss today, we are a little over 2 weeks away from the Who Will Get the Plague week.
Nobody this year.
CES, where somebody is inevitably going to get sick. I hope we skip that this year, man.
Yeah.
The rule of averages. I'm hoping that I've got a couple of years before I'm the victim again.
Until and the thing is, you get sick, and hopefully you get sick like when you're back, and then hopefully it's a slower day because everything just happened at CES. But you never know. Sometimes, like Sean, what we're referencing here, Sean got sick, but that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. It got the flu at CES, and that's the plague there.
Yeah, it was bad. That's only like the second time in my life I went to the emergency room.
Oh.
Yeah, and to his credit, Todd and John Quatch came and retrieved me from the ER that evening. And that was a fun time, let me tell you. But no, so CES is almost upon us, as our inboxes remind us every other minute.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that there is one definite drawback to being in the press and attending a major event like CES, because when we file for our press credentials, that list is shared with all the vendors that will be at CES. And so we get this endless stream of emails, hi, Sean, I see you're attending CES. Would you like to come by and see our doodah?
Yep. Cardinal rule, never share your phone number.
Oh, really?
I don't share my phone number. I used to when I was younger.
Oh, okay. I've never shared my phone number. Do they call you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's just like the emails. Yeah, when I worked in an office for a magazine, I'd get, nonstop just phone ringing. And then the voicemails, too, if you're not picking up.
The emails are bad enough.
Yeah.
And we love going to CES. It's amazing because we only do have so much time when we're at CES, and we get these emails that it would take us weeks to get through and meet with everybody that emails us.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that we don't even cover. I mean, that you wouldn't expect us to cover for the emails we get. Like, I don't know. I can't even give an example. Like lawn clipping, smart lawn clipping bag collector. I don't know. You know, it's just like, what?
Oh, I know. And, there are companies we've never heard of. And that is one thing. CES is a gigantic event. And, as we're walking the aisles, sometimes you walk past a booth and you're like, why is this here?
Yeah.
Why did you come to CES? It's a little confusing, but that's the joys of going to events like this. I hear UPS pulling up outside, so I may be interrupted here in just a moment.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The joys of being the only person in my office. But anyway, so yes, we're deep into our plans for CES, and it's going to be a full week as it always is. Is there anything at CES that you're particularly excited to be looking for this year, Todd?
Well, I think if Sony has some of their, I mean, the problem is I can't talk to that I already do know will show up, but I think Sony might have some the Xperia stuff. Those are rumors, and I honestly don't know right now if we'll see it. But Xperia 4, maybe the tablet, maybe an Ultra, like a new phablet too. But I think really I'm going to be. It's a different kind of show this year. Like I've said in earlier episodes, usually, I guess Mobile World Congress is in February, or it's usually in February. This year it's in March, and we just had IFA in September, and it sounds to me like it's going to be a quiet show on the mobile side. So I'm excited to actually explore sort of other areas this year, if there's not a lot of phones and tablets. But just to give everybody an idea of how crazy it is, on Monday, our day goes like this: Samsung, LG, and then all at the same time, there's the AT&T Developer Summit, Monsters press conference, Sharp, followed by Panasonic, Asus, Qualcomm, Toyota, Samsung, again, ZTE, Sony, and then Pepcom. So that's just one day. And that's the press day, so that's Monday, so that's really busy. But then we go into Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday where we have meetings and we walk around the floor, and there are announcements that are being made through press releases. I'll continue because it looks like Sean had to step away because UPS just showed up. But in general, Monday is the busiest day. It's press conferences. We usually have 1 or 2 people at each. You run 2 events, literally run, to get back and forth. Roy last year, another member of the team, he and I were driving back and forth between press conferences. And then Tuesday is usually meetings. I have several of them set up. And again, it's like running around. And hopefully a lot of the team, we're going to have everybody, full-time staff at TechnoBuffalo there this year. So they'll all be scouring the show floor. I'll be in meetings. And let's see, then Tuesday night is Showstoppers, which is sort of like Pepcom too. If you aren't familiar, Showstoppers and Pepcom are like mini CESs in a room. It's sort of like, even it's like a big restaurant that's rented out, and there's just tables of gadgets everywhere, and then the press people for them. So it's only open to the press too. So I'm just explaining. Sean just got back.
Sorry about that.
Pepcom and Showstoppers, and so there's just these rows of tables and gadgets where like you'll have companies like Lenovo and Canon and I don't know, accessory makers, like literally all the consumer names that you see in like a Best Buy would be there. They might have like their new tablets and laptops and printers and gadgets all over the place. So you see them and you're eating your food, and so that's Showstoppers and Pepcom. So that's Monday and Tuesday night, and that's aside from the show floor where there's like infinite gadgets and car tech and accessories and gaming things. Everything.
I remember, I know I've told this story before on a podcast somewhere. Back in 2011, the iPad was still fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were lots of tablets all over CES. And I'm just wandering down the aisles, and I spot some tablets, and I just stop to look at them. The guy comes over and he's like, "Can I talk to you about our tablets?" I'm like, "Sure." And at this point, it was a Windows 7 tablet, and
Okay.
it was horrible.
Yeah, Windows 7 wasn't designed for tablets.
And so he shows me the first tablet, he gets to the second tablet, and I admit this was highly unprofessional of me, and there's a part of me that regrets it and a part of me that laughs about it.
Uh-oh.
He gets to the second one, and he goes, and this is our iPad killer.
Oh, boy.
And I'm just like, and he looks at me and you know, what's the problem? It's like, oh no, nothing. Please keep telling me about your iPad killer. It was some company I'd never even heard of. Windows 7 was not designed to run on tablets.
No, not at all.
And this guy was so, this is our iPad killer. This is going to, bring, we're going to be the #1 tablet. I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. I mean, we see a lot of products, and so I feel like sometimes some of the people we're talking to, if they're from like a smaller company in general, like they're told this message, they believe this message that like this is the best, and like there's like, oh man, like it's not. But you have to stand there anyway.
I know, yeah, because you want to be polite and all that, but there's a lot of booths you walk by and you make the mistake of going, yeah, tell me about it. Within 2 sentences, you're like, oh no.
What did I do?
What have I done to myself? But good grief. Well, let's jump into some of the questions we have here, and thank you for punting while I was dealing with UPS there.
I was going over our crazy schedule. You keep going.
It's gonna be nuts, man. But it'll be nice having everybody together.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. So
it's one time a year, TechnoBuffalo staff all gets together.
Yeah.
And this year's the first time where I was saying when you were gone that everybody's going to be there, all the full-time staff. So.
Yep. The only people missing will be Eric and Ron from the gaming department and Killian from the UK. Mm-hmm. Although Killian did say in one email chain, if we wanted to jump in a cab and swing by his place and bring him over, but yeah, sorry, Killian, I don't think that'll be happening. I would love to see that bill. But jumping into the questions here, we have from, I shouldn't have clicked on this one because there's no way I'm going to pronounce this name correctly. Matej Ilkbajan. I hope I got close. Would you recommend the Nexus 6 for a holiday purchase? Is it worth it, or should I look for something better?
Man, I love the Nexus 6 when I played with it, and I still want to buy one for myself, but I can't. And I was telling Sean, I've called, I have a line that's not really tied to any carrier, so I've called to T-Mobile, AT&T around here. I've emailed Google's PR team, like, when can I buy one? How do I buy one? Like, nothing. They just don't have them. AT&T told me, like, we can have one to you in 2 or 3 days, but I'm impatient. So, like, when I'm going to buy something, I want it, now. I want to go to the store and buy it.
Really?
Yeah, you know me. And T-Mobile was like, we don't have a. When I asked their customer support, they didn't have a clear date. So, I think it's a great phone. A lot of people say it's too big. I didn't feel that way, and if you listen to this podcast, you know that I really like big phones every time I say it. But a lot of people have said, yeah, I know. I like big butts. No, I like big phones. And Brandon, who also reviews a lot of the products out in Irvine, has said, Todd, like, just get the Moto X, the 2014. It's like the same thing, but a little smaller, a little more manageable. But I don't know, something about it. I want the Nexus 6. So I think it would probably make a great holiday purchase if that's what you're looking for or you're buying. Just realize it's a big device.
It's a big device, and also good luck trying to find one.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, that's the hard thing. But if you can get it, I mean, some of the things that stand out for me over the Moto X that Brandon was recommending is front-facing speakers. I like that it's water-resistant and stuff like that. I don't know. I think in the larger display, 4K display, whatever, UHD 2K display. I don't know. I forget. But much sharper. Definitely would go with it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. From Christopher Miles, how do you think Windows 10 will be implemented on the phone side?
So Microsoft has been pretty forward with that. At least, like, they haven't been, explaining everything, but they've said that it's not going to be like a desktop operating system on your phone. I think what they're trying to do is just narrow it all down so you have, one name for these operating systems and a familiar look, which makes sense. So instead of having Windows Phone and then Windows, you just have or Windows 8 or 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1. It's one family name. But I don't know how it's gonna work. Hopefully they have some kind of real sync. But another thing I've talked about a lot on this podcast is I like iOS and Android because Hangouts is cross-platform largely now. I'd love to see more text messaging without just Google Voice text messaging across all platforms. And in iOS, same thing, with Yosemite now and iOS 8 really cross-platform. And Microsoft hasn't really given me a reason to say I need a Windows phone. Like I use right behind my laptop here are Windows machines, and I use them all the time. And I'd love to use Windows Phone. I have an Xbox One more often, but there's just no reason for me to pick up a Windows Phone really anymore. The apps are kind of hurting. Hardware's great. The apps are kind of hurting. And even the apps that Microsoft releases. So if you look at Office, cross-platform, it runs better and looks better on the iOS and Android. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. Seems like Microsoft knows it too. But hopefully Windows 10 on the phone side improves a lot of that. And, I think it's a great chance for Microsoft to show it.
Yeah, I wish them luck, and hopefully the App Store will finally get to where it needs to be. I think that's still a lot of their problem.
Yeah, it is.
But we'll just have to see. From Sachin Bahal, thoughts on the Pebble Android app 2.3 beta that supports actionable notifications? I think this is great.
I saw it. It looks neat, but I didn't install it. Did you install it? I know you weren't.
No, not yet. I've got a notice about new software for my Pebble that just came in a little bit ago, but I haven't updated yet.
Yeah, it's cool. To explain to people out there who are listening, Pebble just released new software for Android that supports the actionable notifications. So if you get something like a text message, you can reply. But it's obviously the Pebble doesn't have a touch screen, so you have to use the buttons on the side to kind of like scroll through preset replies and stuff like that. But you can now interact with the notifications that you get on your wrist, which is neat, and it's something that Android Wear offers. So
yeah, exactly.
I wonder what Pebble's going to have at CES. I mean, if you remember last year, they had their the Pebble Steel made its debut, I think.
Yeah,
so
it did.
I'm curious if they have something new coming.
I remember that because we ran into a Pebble employee we all knew on Sunday, and we quickly checked their wrists to see what they were wearing, and they're like, no, I don't have it on. we all knew it was coming, but we just didn't know the specifics of it. But yeah, the Pebble employees were real careful on Sunday to not wear the new one.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because everyone that walked by them was like, look at it.
Hey, we know you have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And then later in the show, we ran into the same person, and we found it. So.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't heard about them introducing anything new at
it's been
CES.
quiet. Yeah.
But wearables are definitely going to be a major portion of the CES this year. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I'm excited though. Wearables for me, my wife had a bunch of she held an event. She got a bunch of the Jawbone Up 24s, and I really liked the original Jawbone Up. And this one was just like, I don't know what it is. Maybe now that I'm just so used to them, I was like, I just don't like. I wasn't crazy about it. It was annoying me. It was bothersome on my wrist, and so I think comfort's going to be, coming big into play now. And we just covered some news today. The new Fitbit Charge apparently is causing some irritation issues, but not the same as before with the Fitbit Force, which really caused like nasty rashes.
Yeah.
So I think functionality in the case of like Jawbone and stuff, it's really great, but let's get now we got to work towards comfort. Because now it's not new, like anything can track my steps these days. So what else can you do? Like,
I totally agree with you. And I thought about picking up a 24, but I'm like, I just don't want to go down that road. I know me. I'll get obsessed with how many steps I've taken each day and all that.
I just saw an article today. I think it was on Computer World talking about this guy. It's the same thing. He started walking and realized he was taking like 1,500, 2,000 steps a day, and then got obsessed with walking everywhere to build up like 20,000 steps a day. And I think doctors recommend 10,000 or something.
Yeah, which
far more than I do.
Yeah, you and I don't get anywhere close to that. Uh, from Christopher Miles, do you think the next Galaxy S, Project Zero, will be able to reverse Samsung's recent troubles in market share and, to an extent, mind share?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the goal. And just I want to bring up that market share because that's a big point. Um, they just lost big over in Q3 compared to Q3 of last year. Let me see here. I have the figures right in front of me. But so Project Zero, while I'm bringing this up, is Samsung's goal to sort of start fresh and try to reverse its sort of sinking market share. And actually, I think it's supposed to be the Galaxy S6 is Project Zero, but I think the overall idea is to reverse its sinking market share and focus on uh, fewer models to make sure it's not just sort of blasting phones out all over the place. But here are the figures. Samsung's slice of the smartphone market is at 24.4%. This is according to Gartner recently, during the third quarter of this year, and that's down from 32.1% last year. So Apple's was up just a hair, 12.1 to 12.7. But meanwhile, you're seeing like Huawei jump from 4.7 to 5.3, and then Xiaomi, XIA-OMI, Xiaomi jumped from 1.5% to 5.2% during the same quarter. So really, Samsung, if you look at those figures and who's eating into its market share, you're looking at Huawei and Xiaomi, the Chinese manufacturers that are actually sort of everybody's competitors these days. And so Samsung's recent troubles are due to those two companies, I would argue.
Do you think there's any chance, and this just crossed my mind, so it may not be a fully formed thought as of yet, maybe it's not so much the number of phones that Samsung's producing, but perhaps people are really tired of TouchWiz?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. But now when you come to, I mean, there's you and I and our readers and our listeners here that know TouchWiz and either like it or don't like it. But and I think, for a large part of us, like I know members of our staff, we aren't huge fans of TouchWiz. I think it feels pretty clunky. I usually just replace it right away with another third-party launcher. And meanwhile, I really like other launchers like HTC Sense. But I think if you go out in the market and ask, like, Joe consumer, what do you think about Samsung TouchWiz? And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no. I fully agree with you. Your average consumer doesn't even know it's called TouchWiz.
Yeah.
But they do know that Samsung software looks alike.
Right. And maybe they're getting sick of it. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So yeah, it's not based on, they know it's called TouchWiz. Mm-hmm. It's just they know Samsung, maybe they've picked up an HTC phone or ZTE phone or whatever and gone, oh, this feels better based on the software.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a huge part of it and why Samsung dialed back some of the options that are available in its phones. I mean, like in terms of software, because they were just throwing all the options at you and like, I don't want, what is this? Yeah. Like, super confusing. And I think, and TouchWiz, to me, and I don't know if it's the experience for everybody else out there, but when I own a Samsung phone or play with a phone for a long time, it's great for a couple months. And then later on, just starts to get super, super sluggish, and it feels like it's those extra things because I don't see it on other Android devices. And so I think that's just clean up TouchWiz or just get rid of it. I'd love to see Samsung do something like Motorola, sort of just focus on some small tweaks and then sell the hardware they do, and I think that would be fantastic.
Right. I don't know. Just a random thought that crossed my mind, and again, I agree with you. Your average Joe consumer doesn't know it's called TouchWiz, and they don't know that HTC's is called Sense or whatever. But they may just look at a phone and go, "Oh, this feels a little better. It feels like it moves faster, or something." So
right.
I don't know. Yeah, just a random thought. But yeah, Samsung definitely needs to reverse things.
The hard thing is, I guess, with all of this, is I also don't want Samsung to stop doing new things. Like, obviously, the phablet, they kind of made that really popular with the Note. And then they made the S Pen is great, too. And the Note Edge is really neat. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's really neat. So I'd hate to see Samsung, dial back too much and just be like, oh, we're not going to try new things anymore. Because, I mean, I think in a lot of ways that's been a huge contributor to their success.
Yeah, I totally agree. From Sasha Bahal, and this is off topic and directed towards me. Hey, Sean, do you still read comics? If so, which ones do you enjoy reading? I still read comics, but I don't read anything that's highly current. A couple reasons. Number one being the price; it's just too expensive anymore, and I no longer can buy them at wholesale. Uh, and number two being that they've just gone like DC's gone so many directions with the new 52 and all that. So I still read comics, but I tend to find myself either reading independents, like I really like a current series called Letter 44, and I also go back and read a lot of stuff that maybe I missed over the years, or maybe stuff I just want to reread. So I'm still into comics, just not that current. Let's see here. We got a bunch of questions here. From Christopher Miles, I know I haven't gotten the chance, but has anyone on the team tested Sprint's tri-band LTE?
That's a good question. I haven't either, but I wonder if the Irvine guys have. I'm not quite sure. It's a good question.
Yeah, I would love to be able to tell you what we think of it, but
another one of those market-to-market things, though, sort of like T-Mobile. Well, with everybody these days, the faster LTE options. So.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. From Sasha Bahal, what are your tech predictions for 2015?
Good question.
There's going to be a lot of phones.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we'll see wearables become mainstream. I hope so, and I think it seems like that Apple's sort of going to usher in more of the mobile pay experience. And I don't mean that Apple's going to win it by any means. I'm just saying I think they're going to make it more common for everybody, and so that on Android too, it becomes more accepted everywhere. Sort of just like, oh, that's Apple Pay, or oh, that's your Google Wallet payment. I think that's going to be huge this year. I hope it really takes off, because I've been waiting since I've been covering phones. I've been dreaming of actually doing this all over the place, and I really want to see it do well. And then wearables, obviously, like I was saying. Hopefully the Apple Watch helps bring that mainstream. And I don't know why it seems like to me, but and Android Wear hopefully for a bit too. But when you think about it, Apple has become in a lot of ways a trendsetter. I'm not being a fanboy here, which people love to say on the site. I'm just saying when you look at the market, at least when I go out and I just talk to people, like I'm at a restaurant, I talk to people, they'll say, when's the Apple Watch coming out? Or something like that. And I'll have my Moto 360 on, right? And I'll be like, oh, but this is already out. But it's that kind of question that helps drive everything. Because then they're like, but I want one now too. Like, oh, I can go buy the Moto 360. And then so all of a sudden, people are questioning wearables, or like, when can I get a wearable? Where can I get a wearable? And so in a lot of ways, that's good news for the whole industry. And I think that'll kick off a lot this year too.
When I was on vacation, I got asked 2 or 3 times if my Pebble was an Apple Watch.
Yeah? Are you serious?
Yeah, because they could see it was not a normal display, and they're like, is that an Apple Watch? No, it's not out yet. It's called a Pebble. But I think you're 100% right. No matter where you sit on the Apple fence, you have to realize that where Apple goes, people tend to follow. And just like the story I was telling you about in 2011.
And we mean consumers, by the way.
Exactly.
I'm not saying like Samsung or Motorola are copying Apple.
No, of course not. But Apple has the ability to bring a concept into the forefront, even if they weren't the first company to do it.
Right.
They were not the first company to do a tablet. I don't know how often people are like, "Oh, you realize they didn't." No, I know they didn't do the first tablet. I realized that Microsoft was trying to do it as far back as the early 2000s. Yeah. I still mourn the loss of the Courier. I wanted to try that tablet so bad.
Yeah, that thing did look cool.
Oh, that thing looks so cool. But Apple has the mind share to be able to bring an idea that already exists to the forefront. And so yes, you can say they're not being innovative. That's fine. Maybe they're not. But they are able to get your average consumer thinking about a product. And then, people always talk about the Apple halo effect, and they mean it in the sense of, once you buy one Apple product, you buy other Apple products. But Apple does have a halo effect that extends to the entire industry, really. So yes, the Apple Watch will come along. It was not the first wearable, but it will bring wearables to the attention of the mass market. Same thing happened with tablets. Same thing happened with the iPhone and smartphones.
But so, I will give credit where credit's due to Samsung too. So people really don't think that I'm just like we're touting Apple. When you look at phablets, right? Like Samsung made those popular. Now you have the iPhone 6 Plus. So it happens in a lot of different ways across the industry. But
I mean, I was with John Rettinger when he had the Galaxy Note. I know I've told this story before. When he had the Galaxy Note at CES before it was out in the U.S., he and I, if he pulled that out, I started asking him not to pull it out when we were walking places. Because everywhere we went, somebody would stop us and want to look at it.
Yeah. And now that phone, like that size, I forget what it was, but it's pretty common. I mean,
yeah.
I think everybody has a phone that size.
Yeah, exactly. But no, total credit to Samsung. They completely created the phablet category with the Galaxy Note. Yeah, without question. You depending on your feelings on phablet, you can either thank them or tell them to go die in a fire. But yeah, no, Samsung totally created the phablet category without question. Let's see, what else have we got here? I'm going to tackle this one because it really piqued my interest. From Christopher Miles. Do you guys think information received from whistleblowers trying to expose an injustice and hackers trying to cause harm should be treated differently by the media? That was a really interesting question.
That is a tough question. No, I mean, the media is supposed to report the news as it happens, and that's what makes it so tough, right? So you're not supposed to report the news having either side of like saying like a whistleblower is good or bad or a hacker is good or bad. You're supposed to say that like here's what happened and here are the facts. So to answer your question is should it be treated differently? Like no, it should be treated as news and as what's the word I'm looking for?
It's when we're parsing a story. Technically, we are supposed to be impartial, and that as hard as we try, there's always going to be a little bit of bias that comes out one way or another. But I think if, like, say, we're writing an opinion piece or an editorial, I think it comes down to intent and also the way the information is passed along. I know this is regarding the Sony hack and the GOP and all that.
And probably Snowden.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is better.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a really... It's certainly not a question I can answer in a sentence. It's a very interesting thought. I would say there's a vast difference... well, let's take the whistleblower for the FIFA that supposedly there was... bribes passed along for the Russian and Qatar World Cups. He passed his information along to the correct people. He passed it along to officials, and then it got out to the media. If you just run to the media immediately, or you blackmail them, or you blackmail whoever you have the information from, then I think it's very different creatures.
Yeah, and so I think anybody trying to cause harm, I mean, obviously the media, like whistleblowers and who you're talking about is going to vary differently. But if somebody's trying to cause harm, in this case hackers, and we're getting into Sony now, and a lot of serious threats, then I think, that has to be treated as a threat in a lot of ways. And so in that way differently in the sense that, like, there's security and privacy and all those kind of things to worry about, like, of innocent civilians and stuff like that. I don't know.
Well, even if you go back to all those leaked celebrity nude pictures,
right?
That was a definite hacking. That wasn't a whistleblower,
right?
That provided no no positive gain whatsoever. You know, and it was not exposing an injustice or, bringing anything to light that
Right.
needed to be brought to light. That was just somebody going, look what I found.
Right. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I think that there are vast differences, and I honestly for anyone that's interested, and I'm going to promote another podcast for just a second. For anyone that's really interested in matters of journalism, there's a great podcast produced by the University of Missouri in Columbia. It's broadcast on their NPR station KBIA, and it's called Views of the News. You can find it on iTunes. Views, like you're viewing something, Views of the News, comes out every Wednesday, and it's run by their journalism school, and it's a half-hour show. They go over all the big topics in the media for that week, and they discuss the morals of how it should have been covered, did it get covered correctly, so on and so forth. I've been listening to it for years. I love that show.
That's awesome. I've never even heard of it.
Great show. Yeah, definitely.
One of the best journalism schools in the country.
Exactly. So if you're really interested in the mechanics of journalism and the moralities and all that, give it a listen. I love that show. I have no connection to them, so totally unbiased. It's just something I've been listening to for years. But that is going to bring this week's show to a close. I did look at the calendar, Todd, and there will not be a show next week because I forgot you're out on Wednesday.
Oh, that's right.
But we will try our hardest for the following week, because otherwise we're going to have a 3-week gap. So no show next week. So for all of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you.
Mm-hmm.
To all of our Jewish friends, Happy Hanukkah. That's going on right now. Do you have the holidays in your Google Calendar, Todd?
No, I don't.
It is so funny because right now the way they're writing Hanukkah, because it's multiple nights,
right?
They've got them written as Hanukkah and then followed by a Roman numeral. So it's like movie sequels.
Hanukkah 2.
Hanukkah 2, The Reckoning. Hanukkah 3. I want to know who sat around and thought, let's put Roman numerals behind it. Instead of saying like Hanukkah Night 2, it's Hanukkah 2.
That's awesome.
This time he wants revenge. So no show next week, but we will be back the following week. Then we'll be off again for CES, but we'll have lots of interesting things to talk about after that.
Yeah.
So, as always, you can find us on iTunes by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, and we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can find us on Pocket Cast. You can find us on Stitcher, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. You can subscribe via RSS feed. Anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm Sean Ane. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Until next time, take it easy, and happy holidays, everyone. Bye-bye.